So this happened.
This is what we trained for! 1-1! 1-1! Woo! Alright, boys, you guys wanted a game! Y'all got a game!
And then this happened. Which led to this response. Beautiful people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, I'm happy to have you. My name is LaBelle, and I think we all agree we need another patch. What we've seen, generally speaking, was a step in the wrong direction, and we have never seen a glitch or a bug, no pun intended, like this. I might not co-sign it. If anything, we should have a better product. This video could end up being somewhat raw, which I'm good with. I just have a basis that I'd like to cover of what changed with the newest of patches and what this means. And because we love lists, I put it into a top 10. So this would be the top 10 changes from the most up-to-date patch. Start things off. AI defending. It's back in all ways, all forms, all elements. The chase back, grab a center midfielder and just run with that midfielder, complete one-person track back. If you remember the FIFA 17 or the FIFA 18 days, even FIFA 20, this was a constant, and it had levels of effectiveness, crowds the lanes, and the defenders were too overpowered in terms of containing, stepping into space without being controlled. The same can be said with some of the pressure play. You might see on social media, the 71 on depth, which I've experimented with. I think we all have. The way that players press naturally without micromanaging. And that drives me crazy as a guy that's all about the intricacies, the details, the micro to go with the macro. I want to make sure the better player wins in the majority of situations, and AI defending only benefits a more casual player in a more casual game. Don't come after the messenger. And with that AI defending, it has led to wing-reliant offense, which kills versatility. And when the game first came out, FC 24, defending was hard. You're going to have to get used to it. It was different. The game itself, the pacing, the way that you could miss a tackle, even the collisions and the goalkeepers, a lot of things weren't perfect, but you did feel as if you were playing something different, something unique. And I always preach balance. I like options. I like a variety of ways that you can defend and that you can attack, different formations, and still have success. It's not fun if everyone has to play the same way. And as it stands currently, the best method from an attacking perspective, because you can't find space in the middle of the pitch, not consistently, not at the highest levels, you're going to abuse the wings. As much as possible, you're looking for that pass back or the track back or some R1 dribbling. We have now reverted back to more of a FIFA 22-esque title. And I say that with the way that the game moves, but more so, again, defensive positioning, which I might sound like a broken record. The AI assistance is through the roof. They overstepped. They overshot this patch. And when I look back through the past 8 years, so from FIFA 17 to present day, what titles stand out to you the most? These are the three that are on my mind. And I don't have recency bias, but I understand if you throw that into the equation. FIFA 17, I would start that list off. The better player won the majority of the time. Foot Champs, that huge announcement, not only in competitive FIFA or FC Pro, but maybe in general with a game cycle. Then I look back at FIFA 23, which again, not a perfect title, but the majority of last year's game was enjoyable. You had a lot of different player introductions. You could score again in plenty of different ways. You had different routes. There was an error at the end with the 5 at the backs. I hear you. I understand. And then I would have put it following that FC 24 pre-patch, and it was still way too early to know where this would ended up, but I would have thought at least in the top 3 from the past 8 years of introductions. And to be fair, it's going to be so difficult to top FIFA 17. From all the new announcements to the actual gameplay to the shift of the culture and the movement and the trajectory, just in general, what that year meant to so many different creators, competitors, casuals, intermediate players. Everyone wanted to be good at the game. It was the most gameplay focused year we've had in the past decade. I say all that because after this patch, this game now looks familiar, and it reminds me of FIFA 22. A lot of sit back, counterattack, take in some of the pressure, and then look for the leaks. RNG, random number generated. The bounces are crazy. As it currently stands, you can make the right moves defensively and still concede a goal. A couple bad bounces, players maybe pushing into the box, some of the instructions that aren't playing into your favor. You don't want that to be the impacting factor on a reoccurring basis, because regardless, there will always be a little bit of luck. That's how sports titles work, and you have to accept that, and that's fine. You just want it to be a small fraction of the actual outcome or potential outcome could be based around luck. The majority comes down to skill, maybe even player matchups, understanding formations, tactics, key moments that you're handling well, or if you're falling apart. Either way, that all plays into the equation. Right now, RNG is not only back, but it's stronger than ever, and there was some RNG when the game came out. I'm sure that you complained, not only from a defensive end, but not winning 50-50 battles, or not knowing if your player was going to have a strange animation or a collision, something where you couldn't predict it or it didn't make sense. Speed of play and tempo after this patch has gotten a lot quicker, a lot faster, undeniable. Even the player reactions, some of the responsiveness, maybe run these two together. That's another point that I like to make. The game's more responsive than it was. If you remember before the patch, it was slow, it was clunky. You got online, got a lot of button delay. That's been reduced, but in some way, it's harder to manifest or create opportunities, and it doesn't feel nearly as manual, even though the game is more responsive. The quicker the skills come out, but the separation that I'm creating, it's not as much. It doesn't have the same degree. I don't have the same margin, which works kind of counterintuitive. And in most cases, when you think additional responsiveness, you would believe that you would get bigger skill gaps, better separation, in general, a better title. I don't know that that's been the case. Goalkeepers, they are much more active, much better than before. If you recall, when the game was released, any skill move, any fake shot, any quick dribble, an R1 dribble, the goalkeeper was shook out of position. He's fallen over. It was probably one of the major concerns. I would have liked if EA just patched this element and maybe worked out some of the clunkiness. We didn't need a full revamp or a remodel, but goalkeepers now much more active. They're more consistent. They're still going to concede goals, and they're still going to be beaten in 1v1 scenarios. You could still walk it around them, but it's not nearly at the same level of consistency or ease, if you will, from the early status. Skill moves execute quicker, and I sort of touched on this, but you could argue they're not more effective. Before, I hit you with one body feint and I feel like I was off to the races. If you misplayed it, the player switching was too manual for a lot of people to be competitive. They didn't get help. They didn't get that automatic chase back. They didn't get the support unless you were good at being able to shift on the fly. Your right analog switching was on point. That's what I talk about mainly when I say micromanaging, is how quickly you can move multiple players offensively and defensively. On the offensive end, it could be as simple as pass and move, but it could get as complex of using the player lock, or whipping in crosses and knowing that you're looking to knock down those crosses. Having that extra instinct, a little more vision, being able to see multiple facets of the game, all in the run of play. There's some fluidity. On the defensive end, it's the player switching, how you step, how you sit back, the offside trap, introducing different tactical and instructional approaches while in game, while reacting, while being instinctive to what's happening. Park the bus. That has returned. Full stop. And now you've got the park, you sit passively, and then you look for those outlets, because as we know, and it's a little double-edged sword, probably always will be this way. If you're going up against Park the Bus, the best way to beat it is to push additional bodies forward, to take up space, to have more runners, maybe get a bounce to go your way, whip in crosses, you have that knockdown. However, as you commit more bodies to the attack, it of course leaves more space for you to be counterattacked. So it kind of plays into favor. If you don't score, your opposition, and this is something I've been so guilty of throughout the years, will have the opportunity to hit those deep through balls. Outside of the box shooting with both Travellas and finesse shots, even if you don't time them green, still strong. I mean, it's extra bonus if you got the play styles and the play style plus. Why the play styles have been such a focal point this year. But I wouldn't say that these have dramatically shifted between the patches. You still have certain levels of execution, effectiveness, conversion rates. They look a little bit different. Some of the speed of execution, if you will, or even some of the animations with the goalkeepers, they're not all identical to the pre-patch, but they're still flying in. It's still a viable way to beat the goalkeeper, or to beat the defense, or to beat the midfield, also to beat parking the bus. But that leads to some of my takeaways at the moment. I'd like to see another patch, not only to address this issue with Trickster and that whole play style fiasco, but in general to tone back. We've had two drastic shifts in the game now. The initial game that came out, it had some flaws, but I believe that most of the community was interested because it felt so unique and different from previous installments. Whereas this game feels relatively similar to other games that we've seen before, almost a collaboration between a few different FIFA titles. And now we need another patch that kind of reverts, where we have a little more balance between the two. Those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comments, how are you feeling with the game? What would you like to see shifted? Are these some of the same points or viewpoints that you're sharing in terms of your thoughts with where the game currently is? And as always, I have a lot more content coming out ASAP.